With more strikes looming, the snow howling outside, and Christmas fast approaching, the telly was about the only thing weary Britons could rely on. Until even that joy was threatened.
So there's talk about everybody going on strike, and now we're all at home watching telly, and the BBC's talking about going on strike as well.
We thought we might have no telly on Christmas Day. Well, in my house, that would have been a catastrophe because there was only me, my mum and my dad. And I don't know what I'd have done if there'd been no telly.
There was a long-standing impasse between the Beeb and the unions. BBC bosses acknowledged that pay lagged behind their commercial rivals, but its hands were tied by the government's 5% cap and an overtime ban by the Broadcasting Union.
The unions were making life very difficult for us to make programmes. And I was a trade unionist, and I believe in trade unions, but I could see that they were making demands that were almost impossible.
The BBC in those days were very, very careful with their money. And I was never paid £100 for doing Top of the Pops, even though it had about 15 million viewers. I think I got paid about 90 quid. And afterwards, to earn some decent money, I used to do a disco in a pub in the Old Kent Road.
It wasn't just a question of the money they were asking. It was also a question of the rules they were imposing. You know, if you picked up a stool and moved it a foot, the whole studio might come out on strike. It was a very, very unpleasant atmosphere, and I couldn't see a way out of it.
There were great fears that they would be off air for Christmas, and of course you had all the big shows which were planned for Christmas, so everybody was extremely worried about that.
We used to get the TV Times and the Radio Times, and you'd get the week's programmes ahead, so you'd plan what you were going to do over Christmas with the family, what you were going to watch and everything. And that was just thrown into chaos.
2 days before Christmas, telly addicts' worst fears were realised. After the BBC failed to secure a pay deal with its staff, BBC One and Two went off air on December the 21st and 22nd.
So, on Friday the 22nd of December, 1978, on Radio 2 at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I had to read out this message. We regret to inform you that because of industrial action, we have to leave our
advertised programmes at this junction. From now until further notice, BBC Radios 1, 2, 3 and 4 will combine to bring you an all-network radio service.
The all-network radio service meant all 4 of the BBC's very different radio stations were merged into one very strange Christmas radio pudding. Auntie Beeb was also planning a makeshift service of pre-recorded shows. Noel Edmonds couldn't film Top of the Pops in its studio, and the tape of the Queen's message was locked in a safe.
We waited all year to see the Queen do that speech, and it was tradition. And, you know, we could all stand having no money, but we couldn't stand our traditions being trashed.
Fortunately, at the 11th hour, a 15% pay deal meant the sacred Christmas schedule was saved.
Luckily, at the last minute, a deal was struck, and my show survived on Christmas Day, and so did the rest of the Christmas schedule. So it was business as usual at the Beeb. Phew.
Thankfully, the BBC strike was resolved for Christmas Day.